Today's my first sign carving with the new router. Woohoo!
Peekaboo!
Where did you come from? So I've got this really nice Barnwood board. It's about 6 feet long. I'm going to cut it in half. In fact, maybe just a little longer. It's got these really nice nail holes, the original holes that held this to the barn. Some other supplies I've got, of course, we got the router. We've got some painter's tape, which I'll show you what all these things are for. We've got letters. See, I'm not going to do freehand carving. I'm actually going to be using these letters. I also got these at the same place that I got the base plate, which was www.makeawoodsign.com. They have a lot of supplies. They've got router bits, and that's what I've got here. We're going to be using a 60-degree groove bit. I also have a bunch of galvanized piping. What we're going to do is put some pipes here, and they're going to put a shelf above it. Let's dig in. I grab my square and pencil in the cut line. A jigsaw to cut the board is just fine, since it doesn't need to be perfectly clean and straight. A little sanding to smooth the edges. Here's a little trick to blend the cut edges to make them look a little weathered. Take some gray acrylic paint, dilute with water, brush it on, and let it dry. I'm not sure if this old paint contains lead, but to play it safe and protect the surface while keeping the unfinished character, I'll spray a light coat of satin polyurethane. I wanted to interrupt just for a second to tell you why I'm putting all that painter's tape on the wood. You see, a common carving technique is to spray paint the letters and then sand off the entire surface. But I don't want to sand the entire surface with the barnwood, so I'm protecting it with the painter's tape. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. Not bad for my first sign carving with the new router. I think it came out really well. After I took all the tape off, I noticed a few letters were a little bit imperfect. So I took my router and I cleaned them up a bit. But now what I want to do is take some linseed oil and I'm going to get a paintbrush. I'm going to paint inside all the lines. Now it sounds like it's tedious, but it's really not going to take that long. I'm using a 1/2-inch galvanized pipe to mount my shelf. I'm using paint thinner here to clean off the oily residue from when the threads were cut. A little sanding with some 150 grit to give the paint a nice surface to adhere to. With all the parts clean, we're now ready for assembly. Use 2 pipe wrenches to tighten each of the joints. With assembly complete, we head out into nature's spray booth, where it took about 4 light coats of spray paint to get a good solid color with no bleeding. It took some careful measuring to line up the pipe brackets correctly. I wanted the shelf high enough so that when the mugs are hanging, they don't block the sign lettering. I also wanted to be sure that I had 32 inches of space between the bottom screws so that my shelf could be screwed directly into the studs behind the wall. In case you didn't know, studs are generally 16 inches apart. And now, we get to take a coffee break. I hope you'll subscribe to Alley Picked and click on the thumbs up button. Thanks for watching. Until next time, we'll meet you in the alley.